Hi there fabric jugglers, it's Babs here from Fiery Phoenix, and today I'm going to show you how to use your serger or overlocker to finish off a hand knitted jumper. This is a Harry Potter inspired jumper. I created the letter font design myself, and there will be a tutorial on how to knit these, and I will be releasing a series of the entire alphabet for whatever initial you may want to put on the front of your jumper. But for now, we're not concentrating on knitting or creating the jumper. What we're looking at doing is simply using the serger to sew up those side seams. I always find it to be a bit tricky myself to do it by hand, and by this stage I'm always really impatient just to finish that jumper off, that sweater off. So the Puritans out there, I'm sure, will go away and will create a jumper, and you will sew it and you will finish it by hand, and that will be fine, absolutely perfect. I, on the other hand, am incredibly impatient, and I thought I'd share my method of hemming up these final seams, hemming them up, of seaming the arms and the sides for this particular make using my trusty serger. So hopefully you'll stick around and we'll get going. What we'll be needing to do is go around the edge, and I'm only going to show you one side of this process. Hopefully you'll be able to work out what to do for the other side yourself. And what we're going to be doing is pinning the pivotal points and then pinning all the way down just to keep that roll in check, because I don't know whether you can see it there, but the fabric, the knit is rolling quite considerably, which is what always happens when you use a knit of this sort. With the plain stocking stitch, it always gives you a strong curl to the edges. So what I'm going to do is simply insert my pins with the pin head sticking out, and I think I'll move the camera a bit closer so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So here I've taken the point where the sleeve joins the body and I've pinned that corner. Now we're not actually going to be doing a majorly tight pivot on that, it will ease around the corner, but for now we're just going to pin at some of the more crucial points before we start pinning all the way along the edge. So we're now going to go for the point where the stocking stitch changes into rib, because we want those to align. And just pop that pin in, and then we want to do the same at the bottom. Now there's no rib at the bottom, but as you can see it's curling every which way. So what I want to do is make sure that those corners are very carefully aligned so that these line up at the bottom as well as lining up along the side. So we're looking to have this align along the bottom as well as down the side, and then we'll pop a few more pins in just to make sure that particular point is nice and secure. Don't worry too much about all these extra bits that are hanging out. And then what I'm going to do is go around the rest of the side of the jumper now that those three pivotal points are in place, and just pop a pin in every inch or so, just to keep the roll out of the knit. So now that we have pinned in all the way around the edge of the jumper, hopefully this is a nice smooth pinning and we haven't found any unusual or unexpected lumps and bumps, and both sides are meeting evenly. That now means that we can move on to serging. The first thing that I'm going to do is actually move my blade out of the way, because I don't want to be cutting through my lovely new jumper. I want that tucked safely out of the way, so I'm not slicing away any of the width or length of my sleeve or body of the jumper that I've just created. And now we have our tail through and we're all ready to start. So I'm just going to try and find a position where the camera will be able to view what's happening without actually completely getting in the way. So now hopefully, let's turn that off. Hopefully you can now see where I'm going to be running my work through. I'm going to be popping the pins as I use them in my little pin cushion, and I will not be running any pins through the serger I strongly advise against ever doing that. Far too many needles are flying back and forth to risk running a pin through this quite delicate piece of machinery. So I will be making good use of my pin cushion. So raise the presser foot, slide this in. Now if I was trimming and cutting, this piece would be cut away. I'm still going to leave it out to the side because then I can fold it back through the seam once the seam has been created. And just give that a little nudge if necessary to bring it up over the bulk of the fabric. And what I'm going to be doing is running the fabric along the edge as if the blade were there, cutting it, which obviously the blade isn't because I've moved that out of the way so that it's all nice and secure. So let's start serging, taking out the very first pin. So that's now in place and we have no pins in the way, and let's start serging with the presser foot down. You may need to pull on the chain at the back just to give it a little helping hand to begin with. And do not forget to get these pins out of the way before they run underneath this this presser foot. And what I'm going to do now is pull this very long tail through so it doesn't get caught up in the mechanism. You can see it just sort of dribbling through the hole in the side, which means that I now have a nice clean run through for the rest of the sleeve. Now, what this then gives us is quite a lovely finish. If I bring this over closer, this gives us quite a lovely finish on the actual seam on the jumper. So I'm going to carry on serging this lot, and I shall see you when it's... And so here we have the final seam that we've run through. It goes from the tail all the way around past the armpit. Which, as you can see, is it's not a right angle, but then it's not an uncomfortable angle either, and then all the way along through to the far end. All the pins have been gathered, and if you're a little bit interested in my little skull pincushion, then there's a tutorial for that coming up. It's all about free motion embroidery, and then you get a little pincushion at the end of it, which is quite sweet, or at least I think it's quite sweet. So now that we've got this sewn all the way around the edges, we're going to take a really big-eyed needle, a nice big woolen needle if possible, and we're going to then thread through the last pieces of the overlocking threads. Actually, the entire chain we're going to treat as if it was one single thread, and we're going to sew that back in through the seam that we've just done, and then we'll do the same for the woolen strand that's sitting there at the end. So we'll just tuck that through and then snip the excess away. So when that straightens out, that end just disappears inside. And then we'll do the same for this piece. Just tuck that through. Thread that. You don't need to have it threaded that heavily. And again, we'll just threadle it through here. Tug it through. Ease that out. Trying to hold that up in the air with the weight of the jumper isn't such a clever plan. And then we just move that through. There we are. And then snip away that excess. And then the tail gets lost as we straighten that out. And then if we turn this right side out, then the seam that you get, whilst I haven't finished these ends yet, the seam that you get is a very, very professional looking finish. As you can see, that running all the way down the arm there, and we have managed to get the cuff so that it aligns and the ends so that they meet up, and then down in the actual joining of the arm again we've got a very nice even hemline, seam line. I keep saying hem when I mean seam, all the way through. And whilst it might look as if we've lost a lot of width, we've hardly lost anything at all when it's actually opened out, and it's a nice flat even seam. Let's try showing that again. It's a nice flat even seam. I haven't even pressed it yet. This is straight off of the serger, and I think that's come out very, very cleanly. So hopefully that has given you an alternative to sitting there with your enormous wool needle sewing through for a considerable amount of time once you've actually completed your jumper. Now I'm just going to finish up the last little bits on this particular project, tie away those loose ends, and then it's going to be ready for my niece. But shh, don't tell anyone, it's a Christmas present. But the actual pattern for this I will be releasing on my website, so drop me a message if you're interested, and I'll let you know when that's available. But hopefully that has given you another use for your serger and has shown you how easy it is to use without the blade, and I just hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great day. Whenever you're watching it, have a great day, weekend, week, midweek, Christmas, Easter, whatever time of year you're watching this. And I'll see you again. Bye for now.